You're listening to episode 181 of the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman. Hello and welcome to this solo episode with me. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind you about an event that is happening this Friday if you're listening not in real time, because it is indeed real time for you, but the day the podcast goes out, which is Wednesday, on the Friday the 19th, over at Willow Barn in Worcester, we are having another social sessions event talking about authentically showing up as you online. We're going to have a massive content creation session and masterclass around creating content for the next few months, and also a planning session to make your next few months a complete breeze. It includes cake, really good cake, lunch, and a hot drink, and it's all for $29.95, which is a complete bargain. We have a few tickets left. I'm recording this on the Monday this week, and we have a few tickets left. So if you are interested, send me a message and I will send you the link. And we will be having another event in January, so do keep your eyes peeled for that. So I was trying to think about what to talk about on today's podcast, and a couple of weeks ago I gave a talk for Enterprise Nation's Festival of Female Entrepreneurs, all about being authentically you and showing up online. And again, it's a theme that we're going to cover in a lot more detail on Friday at the event I've just spoken about, because being authentically you is something that sounds like really buzzy and, oh yeah, everyone's saying authenticity, authentic, this, but it's not a buzzword. I mean, it is a buzzword, but it shouldn't be. So I wanted to talk just a few things really around some top tips for showing up online as you and why it's important. And also at the end of it, why it's much more important to be you than be liked by everybody. And I know that sounds a bit controversial, but it's the truth. Now, this is like the kind of highlight points. As I said, I'm going to go into a lot more detail at the event, but this should give you hopefully a bit of food for thought and some tips to help you show up as authentically you, because that is what we as a group need. We need people to be themselves online. Now, there's a programme that my kids are obsessed with when it comes on, and I'll be honest, I don't dislike it, called The Masked Singer. And if you don't know what it is, it's kind of brilliant. I love it. And the children love it. And it's these people, different celebrities, some are singers, some aren't singers, who dress up as a random character and then sing, and the panel have to guess who it is. And of course, everyone has a go. But the point is they're behind this mask. And when you hear their interviews afterwards, you often find out that they've actually enjoyed a bit of that experience. I mean, some of the costumes must be so hot and so uncomfortable that I can't imagine every aspect of the experience is great. But they enjoy the fact that they can just crack on without fear of judgment. I'm sure there was... what's that chap called from Take That? Who was like, because I had the masked dancer as well, which was really hard. And he was absolutely throwing some shapes. Now, would he have felt so free, so confident without it? I don't know him. But it did kind of make me think a bit about it. And when you're behind this mask, when people don't know who you are, you can be whoever you want. You can be different to your character. You can be the full version of you, not a kind of damped down version, because, you might upset somebody. And it made me think about this kind of mask idea, but actually taking that online, away from dressing up as a queen bee or what else have they had? Flamingo, all sorts of things. And how so many of us do put on this mask online that stops us being our true authentic selves. Now, I have to say, I genuinely, hand on heart, try incredibly hard to always be my authentic self online, because I've had experiences with people when they haven't been their authentic self online. And when I've met them in real life, I've found it really unnerving because they aren't the same. And sometimes quite markedly, quite different. And it's really unnerving for me. So I try really hard to make sure that I am me in all the places. Now, that could be good, that could be bad. But the point is that if you meet me in real life, I will sound like this. I will explain things like this. And even the podcasts I put even the podcasts I put out, they are edited for when I've just, when I mess things up, which I've just done, which I think will be coming out. But the way I speak, the ums, the pauses, the awkwardness, that is me. I'm also very aware that on stories, I do obviously, if I chat away and like a bird flies out and I have a meltdown or something like that, I will retake it because it's not, it's not a good story. But I am, again, very mindful of including bits of real life, because if we meet in real life, when we meet in real life, it's me. And if I'm someone completely different online, that's going to give you a different impression of me. And then when we meet in real life, I won't have any filter. And you'll be probably a bit shocked. Quite shocked. And one of these examples is I was at Your Horse Live just on Friday. Awesome event. If anyone is listening from Your Horse Live, you did an incredible job. And I was on a stand. Dr. Di was trying out saddles on a stand. And I was looking at the saddles, and someone stopped me and introduced themselves because they follow me online. Thank you if that was you. It was lovely. And it was great because I knew who they were, but I could also just be me. And I'm sure I said something crazy, because I always do, it's my thing. But because I am me online, I wasn't massively worried about it. And it's just in those instances when you realise the importance of being truly you, authentically you, actually you online. So I wanted to run through a few points. So why does it matter? Why does it matter if we're authentically us? I think that the bigger part, it's the right thing to do. We're not trying to trick people into liking us, or to make people think we're something we're not. If we want to be the thing we're pretending to be, we should go off and be that thing. We shouldn't be trying to pretend we're X and in fact we're Y. I don't like the fake it till you make it phrase. It bothers me on every level, because to me that's being fake. I know for some points of view, from your kind of mindset point of view, if you imagine you've accomplished that goal, it can help you because it's already a foregone conclusion, and I'm all for that. But if you are saying you've done all these things and you haven't, to me that is a fib. And from my personal point of view, if I'm watching you online, I would love to see your journey of you accomplishing your dreams rather than you pretending that you've accomplished them when you haven't. Because especially if it's something that is my area of expertise, I'll smell a rat and I'll move on, because I just don't appreciate it. So it's important, because when we are us, when we're truly us, we attract the right people to us, people who like us because we are us, not because they like the projection of what we would like to be. And I think it's so important. It's so important. And when you move from social to real life, it becomes even more important. It's like it's all under a magnifying glass, about why it does matter so much. So it's just important. When you break down the line between real and in person, in the way you talk through emails, the way you answer your phone, all these things, if you're two different people, it's very difficult to marry those together. Really difficult to remember who you are when. And the thing is, your people will be attracted to you as you. And the other ones, don't worry about them. We've got a point for them later. So how can you be authentically you online? Well, obviously the simple thing is just be you. But of course, there's a few different things that we tend to do that can move us away from that. So the first thing is, I'm going to go filters and heavy editing. Now, I know some people use filters, and there are some filters that are brilliant. The lighting, particularly in winter, the light at the moment is awful. I'm in my office and it is dark. And that means if it's dark when you're doing stories or things like that, you can go very grainy. And I do appreciate that some filters do also give people confidence, but these are generally, from what I've been observing, the ones that are quite a minor filter. You would still be able to identify that person without the filter on. They might look a bit smoother or a bit more radiant, but with the right cream on, with the right foundation on, in the right light, that can happen. But it's that kind of perfect lighting filter, which I think is not too bad at all. I can understand why people use that. I'm really pale anyway, so at the moment I think I could really do with being a little bit less pale. It's not something that I tend to do because I am this pale when you see me in real life, so I don't want to do that. But I can understand from that point of view if people use it to just boost their confidence a little and it's just a minor adjustment. I mean, it's, you do you. If to show up at all you want a heavy filter, that's on you. But from my point of view, I think minimal filtering and minimal editing is what we should be going for, because again, when you meet someone in real life, you're not that edited. And I have a story about this, which was, how many years ago? I don't know how many years ago. Let's say, I don't know, what should we say, 6? I don't know. Let's say 6. I have been following someone on Instagram for a while. I had engaged with their stories. I got to know them. I would absolutely have counted them as a friend. And she was gorgeous, beautiful skin, always looked very, very glowy, lovely. And I met her in real life and she did not look anything like that. She was still absolutely gorgeous, for the record, let the record show, but her face looked completely different. I think it was a slightly different shape. It was very different. And it really unnerved me. And for a while, I just I knew who it was. I knew it was the same person. But I was quite sort of on the back foot and quite surprised at the difference in this person. And she was still lovely and, still a very nice person, but it really unnerved me, actually, that they were she looked so completely different. And I think that when we see people and they don't look the same at all, I think it is a bit unnerving. I know my sort of little brain was going, are we sure this is the same person? And I think that you don't want any of these barriers in the way that make people doubt you're who you say you are. And I think that, as I said, some filters I think just mildly filter, smooth out a few lines, add a bit of good lighting. But others can, apply eye makeup, apply lips, make your jaw a different shape, make your eyes bigger, move your nose in, all sorts of things. There's been some really good examples of the level of editing you can do online, actually with very little effort, on things like on specific apps, that you can completely change how you look. And yes, you might look like an absolute supermodel because you've made your eyes bigger and all these random things, changed your jawline, made your cheekbones bigger. But the thing is, in real life, when you meet somebody, you're not going to have that filter and you will not necessarily look like you. And I just feel that's really important. With editing as well, I'm not good at editing. That if you listen to the podcast, I will openly say that. Some people are, generally professional photographers are. And I think, again, if it's sympathetic editing to take out, any issues with the light, then that makes perfect sense. You're enhancing what is already there. I think my issue comes when you are changing what's already there. And some filters can dramatically change what's already there and make you look like a completely different person. So one of the things, we want to be showing up as authentically and truly us, we need to be wary of the filters we're using. The next thing we want to look at is our language. If we are using words that we would not normally use in conversation on our social media posts, things like that, that is again quite unnerving when you meet someone in real life and they have a completely different set of words, almost like they're scripted and they're not scripted. I think just, again, being you, allowing the ums and the ahs to come through where you would naturally do that in speech, using words that you would use, And if you wouldn't say something was fantastic or incredible or whatever in real normal life, then, think about that as well. Think about how you use the words. There's a lot of words that are perfectly good words. They're not naughty words. They're not swear words that I just don't use in normal life. I wouldn't start weaving those into my stories to make me appear more intelligent or clever. I just wouldn't do it because I wouldn't use them again. I'd probably use them wrong. So think about the language you're using and make sure it is you. Again, I know we're talking about the mask being a physical mask, but it's also a mask in how you speak. And of course, connected to this is about being honest. That's the easiest way to be authentic, is to be honest. This doesn't mean that every time you have a bad day, you have to go on and, as you weep, tell everybody on your social media that you've had the worst day in the history of the world and it is horrific. But what it would mean is that you wouldn't go on and say you'd had the best day ever. I am absolutely pro not sharing every single thing you do in your entire life in public, because no, you don't owe it to anybody. You can keep a whole load of your life private, and that is completely fine. I don't think that is not being honest. I think that is just, what do you share? Because to me, the honesty comes in is what you do share should be correct. It should be truthful and it should be honest. You need to obviously protect yourself. And there's a really good quote. I heard it from Sophie Callaghan first, but I don't know if she got it from somewhere, about sharing scars, not wounds. And this actually links quite nicely into this, because a scar is something that you kind of lived through, a horrible thing you've lived through and experienced, but it's healed up and you're good now. Whereas a wound, it's still open and raw, and you sharing that could actually hurt you more. So it isn't about sharing everything as it happens. It can be when you are reflective, if you want to share it at a future point. But to me, it would just mean not going on and saying, I'm having the most amazing day ever. This is happening. This is fantastic. And actually, you've had the most horrific day ever and you are just done. That is not, I don't believe, authentic. The thing is, you don't owe it to anyone to share your whole story, but I do think it's important that when you do share things, they are accurate. And obviously that is not just in your words, in the things you're sharing, in the way you look, all this, I think it extends to everything that we do. Through doing these things, what you're likely to find is that not everyone is going to like you. If you just try and mould with everybody, if you try and be someone you're not just to fit into all the different groups and with all the different people, you're just doing yourself a disservice. And more than that, you're doing your true followers, your true fans a disservice, because they're unlikely to even find you because you're not giving off the same signals that they are. You're actually reducing your chances of making really good, valuable, worthwhile, enhancing connections that you can enhance them as much as they can enhance you by not being yourself. And I think if we can look at it like that, if we can kind of reframe the situation rather than what if someone doesn't like me, and think about it, but the right people will find me if I am me, that really helps. I do also fully appreciate that it's scary to show up as you. It's scary when you take off your mask and you are all the things that we've said. I think appearances particularly, when we put up something and we look really tired, we've got bags under our eyes, our wrinkles look bigger than normal, she says, stretching out the bags under her eyes. And it can be really scary. But I did a thing at the Festival of Female Entrepreneurs, and I put up a picture on the screen, and it was a picture that I had taken for me and I've never really liked it. It's perfectly fine as a picture, but I can pick things out of it that I really don't like. So I think my teeth look a bit crooked. I should have had my roots done. My eyes look really wrinkly. I'm really, really pale. I went through and I looked at it and thought, there's so many things I don't like there. And I then thought, right, let's be brave, let's do this. And I asked the audience what they saw. I didn't tell them what I saw. I asked them what they could see. And I did take a massive deep breath, because it is scary, because you're thinking that someone is going to say, you've got a lot of eye bags, you've got a lot of wrinkles. Nobody said anything that wasn't kind. I had one lady at the back called Alice, who I remember very clearly, who said, you just look so, so happy and like you're having the best day ever. And it was such a lovely comment. And I was having a lovely time when the photograph was taken. And there were a few other comments, and not one person pulled up the things that I was not happy about and the reason that I hadn't posted that picture. I didn't want to post that picture. We are our own worst critics for everything we say. We overanalyze the words that leave our mouths. We overanalyze our images. We correct ourselves. We overthink. We overthink every expression that we've ever said to anyone. And they can really stop us from being us. So what I would like to do, I'd like to throw down the gauntlet to you, to pledge to be authentically you online, because we do not need clones of other people. We do not need you to have all the filters on so we would not see you, or we would not recognize you on a street when you were staring straight at us. We don't need you to be anyone else apart from you. Will this mean that everyone will like you? Absolutely not. But it will mean the right people will. And whether that's from a brand point of view, when you're trying to attract the right brands for you, from a fan and follower point of view, or if you are a brand, obviously it's slightly different because you do have that kind of professionalism. But none of these things I've said here need to impact on your professionalism. I don't think so anyway. If you are passionate about your beliefs, if you are standing behind that, and they are your brand, they are what you believe at your very, very core. The language is the language you use. You sharing enough of your journey. When you have a win, you're sharing that win. If you've had a challenging day, you might share a bit of that if you're happy to, rather than just saying everything is fantastic all the time. You don't have to share every single down, but you might decide to share bits of it if it adds to the journey and works well with your followers. I hope that has been useful to you. I would love you to screenshot, share to stories if you've tuned in. Do you find this easy? Do you find showing up authentically as yourself easy, or do you find it a little bit tricky too? If you find it a bit tricky, you are not alone there. If you want more on this, as I said, there is the event over at Willow Barn on Friday, and we will be doing more events there as well in the new year. This one is down to kind of demand. We had lots and lots of people say they want to come to a November one. Appreciate the dates haven't worked for everybody, but it's going to be a brilliant event. So if you want to delve more into this or the content creation point of view and make some really cool bits of content for you for the next few months, and also how to plan that content so you can have a nice, more relaxed from a social media point of view few months, that is the event for you over at Bennett's Willow Barn. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate your time, and I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Take care.